Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, as you can see, I'm continuing my Disney movie marathon. But to be perfectly clear, folks, I'm not trying to do these rant videos just because it's Disney. I like Disney and all, but that that doesn't mean I can't criticize them for time to time. I've often defended Disney on a number of occasions. So don't be thinking I'm just trying to trash talk Disney just because it's a corporation. I do believe every corporation out there does have a right to make money, just like just like the family-owned stores. And don't be thinking that I'm trying to talk trash about this film just because it's Chinese. No, no, no. But the Mulan reboot is definitely, without a doubt, one of the worst live-action films I've ever seen. Yeah, it's that bad. Again, let me make this perfectly clear, okay, folks? So you can understand what I'm getting at here. This video, again, is not a way just to trash talk Disney. Because the thing is that I actually do like the company. I hope they make more movies. They just make, let's just say they make quite a few duds over the years. And they keep making more duds and they keep making crap over and over again. Let's just say they made quite a few blunders over the years. And yes, it's unfortunate that they keep making more crap more and more again. And that's the thing, folks. People keep buying these movies over and over again. And then, as a result, of course, Disney is going to want to make these movies because people keep buying these movies. And, yeah. So I guess in their defense, of course, they keep making this crap because they can just keep making them because people keep buying them. So yeah, of course they keep making more and more just because people keep giving these bad movies, positive reviews. Thus, they make more. So I can see why they would want to make these movies more again because, like I ultimately said multiple times before, this is at the end of the day, it's a business. The film industry, let me keep the point the obvious again. It's a business, and money is like the blood, so to speak. Yeah, I can say the exact same thing when it comes to their live action stuff. To be more specifically, the remakes, they're all bad. Every single one of these films is terrible. Again, I don't like remakes. I don't like reboots, reimagined, redo, redid, redone, or however you want to say it. As far as I'm concerned, every single remake in existence is terrible. And what also really confuses me as well is that a lot of people are really, really well into have this up-to-date modern takes of these classic films, even though they're basically the same old story as the original films, just feel extreme padded, really, really padded, like the Cinderella remake, which I still think is a really bad movie. But they praised that film, they cheered for it, but then go to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, which was created by the same company, and then criticize those films for being too much the same like the original films. Are you serious? And the overall character of this guy, he's basically the same like how he was in the source material, pretty much. And basically what I'm getting at, how can you be criticizing this if they're from the same source material, really? But I'm just wondering that how is it that you can give one a pass, but not the other? These two things are doing the exact same thing, but you give one a pass, but not the other. That doesn't make any sense. Like what? I'm not trying to say Star Wars is remaking anything, but still, my point's still there. And again, just so you know, like I said way earlier, I'm not trying to criticize this film just because it's Chinese. I don't mind Chinese movies. I've reviewed a lot of Chinese films, Asian films before. So this has nothing to do with the fact that I'm going to be criticizing just because it's Chinese. No. I mean, I do wish they could have, gone more into the culture. Yeah, I do wish they could have gone more into it. Sure. Yeah, I wish they could have gone more deeper into their what their belief system is, I mean, I know they talk about honor, being brave, and all that, but other than that, just saying it, oh, you got to be brave. Oh, honor, yada yada. You got to be, courageous and whatever. On the surface level of just talking about bravery, honor, and all that, there's not much to it. So they could have easily gone into more of the Chinese culture. They could have gone a lot more deeper into it, which unfortunately they did not. They really did not go into that much depth to it. So it just came up. A lot of this was just brushed over, just to have some generic, boring action movie. That's it. Which you could have easily tired this film on some other title, and it wouldn't make much of a difference, really, like hardly at all. But yeah, folks, this is a bad movie on a number of levels, of course, which is why I'm making quite a few videos on this subject matter. And yes, of course, it's already, like I was saying earlier, it's already available on Blu-ray if anyone wants to get it anyway. Or if you wanted to get the 4K, or just the digital download with the DVD and Blu-ray. But there's also a combo pack with the Blu-ray of the original one, or the digital download with the original film, or even a DVD pack. So none of those collections, just so you know, are accompanied with the sequel. So yeah, it's just the first movie and the remake, and that's it. So it just comes off like they were attempting to basically I guess, erase the second movie out of existence to some extent, I guess. Are you that embarrassed by it? I mean, really? Is that what you're trying to do? Okay. Princess type movies going to politics. Because this is supposed to be about some culture somewhere in the world anyway. And yes, of course, it's going to be talking about a war, a battle, combat, and whatnot. That kind of a thing to begin with. So, it doesn't bother me that they would want to go into something that maybe like it could be like real life kind of situations that could easily be used for this film. So yeah, again, I just have to say that this was just a soulless cash grab and nothing else. That's all this turned out to be. No more, no less, just a soulless cash grab. And it shows. And yeah, we do have a female villain kind of a thing going on here, folks. What's the entire point of this? I don't get it. This was seemed like he was just shoved in there just because. I mean, okay, I kind of get they trying to have him have like some sort of sidekick, I guess. But this female villain is never really well developed, like at all. She has the same kind of personality like all the other villains in the story. So at the end of the day, it just came out like what her gender is didn't really matter because she has the same kind of personality like everyone else. So she's just there just so the character of Mulan can have someone to fight. Really, and that's it. Just just so Mulan can have an opponent. Really, when you think about it, and that's the only thing that the character ever served throughout the entire movie. Really, but also, that aside, I do have to take an issue with the dialogue. And yet, this dialogue in here in this film is really horrendous. It's just come off like the script was done by a bunch of amateurs, really. So, which is odd because this was constructed by professionals. But the dialogue itself is just really bad. It's as if the dialogue itself was from the like some sort of high school play, maybe. The dialogue's equal to a high school play, and at least a high school play has an excuse for being a high school play, as bad as that may seem. Like, come on. I guess in comparison, this was, I guess, better than the Dumbo remake. Because at least Mulan attempted to have something more going for it. It has more of a story, really, compared to Dumbo. So I guess both films do suffer from the same thing are brought up before, both movies do suffer from being overly stuffed, which yes is a complaint I brought up before. These films are really stuffed. They feel really padded at times. Of course, they're gonna want this movie to be live action. I mean, I don't like the idea behind the fact that we had to reboot it, but the thing is that over the years, Disney Corporation have been criticized for being sexist towards women with the Disney princess movies, which of course I don't believe to be true, but it's an obvious lie. But they accuse these films, again specifically the princess movies, to be sexist. So as a result of this stupid criticism that they received over the years, they just want to do like more of a modern take, as if to erase these people from bashing these type movies. But yeah, it's a thing that I've heard quite a few times over the years. Just because these characters are behaving in such a way, they took it as a way that, oh, it's trying to downplay sexism and trying to make everybody accept the old fashioned ways, which is nonsensical because none of these movies were actually doing this kind of a thing. And if you noticed, it's women complaining about other women. It's women complaining about female characters. Just complaining about all the types of characters. It's just ridiculous when you think about it. It's really stupid. And of course, sexism is wrong, obviously. Before anyone says anything, yes, sexism is wrong. And these would be the same type of women who complain about other women for cosplaying as these princess characters. Yeah. Nag, 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 nag. About women doing these kinds of stuff because they like to. There's nothing wrong with cosplaying as some characters. You enjoy it. That's fine. It's just that I found it awfully ridiculous that they would jump to the conclusion. And yeah, Disney does not have to cave in to what they believe in. It just comes off like that's exactly what Disney is doing. They caved in. So to shut these people up, they just go on and do this anyway. That's ridiculous. So yeah, they should have done another princess character film instead of just rebooting Mulan. So I didn't like how they were going with this, of course. And yeah, it was not a good movie, folks. This was definitely something. I'm just gonna watch it once. That's it. I'm just gonna watch this once and nothing else. And we're supposed to believe that Mulan has this great power called Chi now, even though it was never in the original. But okay. And now, just because she has this Chi, she's the greatest warrior of all time. Ever since she was born. She was the day she was born. So there was like a prophecy thing going on, kind of a thing. I don't know. There's a lot of things that was not quite clear through the entire film. It just goes into what I was saying before. The writing this was really bad. The writing for the script was horrible. It was really bad because the overall story there's a numerous plot holes throughout the entire thing. She doesn't get any proper training or anything, like I was saying in the previous videos. So yeah, there was that. On all the characters, again, like I was saying, come off one-dimensional. Yes, of course, I do understand that they have to make the character go through some sort of struggle and whatnot, and go through some sort of adventure, so that she can keep her family safe, her country safe, and all that stuff, just like how it was in the original film. But in this version of the more modern take of the classic, nothing felt like it was actually earned. In the original film, she had to do a lot of training and whatnot, and eventually she maybe somehow feels like she feels doubt and whatnot. And in the remake, in the reboot, there's nothing of the sort. There's no self doubt. There's no moment of sadness. At the very least, it doesn't feel genuine anyway. So in that regard, it feels on a very emotional level in a lot of ways because I don't feel nothing. This again just goes back into a really horrendously bad writing that this movie has. The way that the characters are written, it doesn't feel like actual characters. They do not feel like there could be actually people you should care about. It's hollow. This entire thing is hollow in a lot of ways because this film has no depth, no detail, no nothing really. I know they were trying to come up some sort of backstory for all these characters just to fit this movie and whatnot. And they basically took the premise of the original film and just stretched it for roughly 2 hours. And it shows. It really, really does show. And I didn't like that. I did not like that at all. Why couldn't they just make a third movie and just continue the story from there? So, yeah, just I'd much rather see that. I mean, the thing is that they could have easily made a third film instead. When you're making a movie, you do have to make a lot of research. You do have to look into certain things and whatnot. They claim that they did some research for this film because they want to play respects to the Chinese culture and whatnot, which is fine. I got nothing against people playing homages, little tribute, or whatever you want to call it to the Chinese culture or any other culture for that matter. That's all fine. Nothing wrong with that. But again, I have to say it's in the execution that really ruined it in a lot of ways because it doesn't feel like what they were aiming for, like at all. I mean, sure, this is supposed to be a Chinese movie with a Chinese character and whatnot. That's great, but it just felt hollow. Even the story itself just comes off like really, really hollow. Oh boy, it seems as though I'm just being a broken record here. It's not as deep as is trying to do. Not really. So that the way this is written is that bad. It's that horrendously bad. It just comes off like maybe they just went with the first draft, the first script draft that they made, and didn't bother to revive the script or anything. So just like okay, just go with whatever you have written down and just go with it. That's how it comes off. So really, yeah, really sloppy storytelling. This entire thing is a mess. The narrative is a total mess in so many ways. And this is again just goes how the script was structured. Because you think they would have been more competent in regards to that because this is being done by professionals. So you would think they would have a thing or two about this kind of structure in the story, setting up the tone or whatever. So yeah, it does not come off like their intent really how they wanted to make this seem some sort of grand big adventure. At the end of the day, it just felt like there's nothing there. There's nothing you can grab really, like at all. That's really disappointing. That's really disappointing because I did enjoy the original Mulan. But I mean, granted, yes, my expectations weren't really that all that high to begin with, despite the fact that I liked the original. The fact that they had announced this film to be remade, I already knew it was gonna be bad. I already knew that this one was gonna suck. But I gave it a shot anyway. I gave it a watch to see if they can prove me wrong. Nope, they just did what I thought they were gonna do. It's gonna suck, and it just did. I mean, yes, okay. Throughout the entire movie, they actually did have quite a few references to the original. Hey, look, that's a reference. This is a reference. That's a reference. This and this a reference. Like, okay, whatever. Like, whatever. Okay. Those hints of the original film being in a live action movie, but that's about it. It just again, just copy and paste. That's all this is. They just overly stretched the premise of the original film to roughly 2 hours, just about. And yeah, I mean, granted, they did the exact same thing with the other remakes that they've done with these princess characters. But obviously, they don't want to try anything new, really. They don't. I mean, granted, you can always blame maybe to some degree, it's the audiences who are watching these films, of course. Like I said, you can't blame me for trying to see if they could improve, but no, no. But I mean, I'll admit I bought this on DVD, on Blu-ray, just to collect it really. Because like I said, I already knew this one would suck. But for the most part, it just seems like the audiences, some of them anyway, are complaining that this movie's garbage. Oh yeah, of course it's gonna suck. It's a remake. So, but at the same time, a lot of these same people who will go out and watch this movie anyway in theaters or whatever. I mean, like I said, vote with your daughter. Vote with your daughter. If you don't want these kinds of movies to be made, don't watch them. Simply put, just don't watch them. I mean, granted, you go just buy this used, I guess. Go to like a used store, like one of those hand-me-down stores. You go just, I guess, buy from there if you want, just to add to your collection, maybe. I guess do what I would do, just trying to collect a bunch of Disney movies, I guess. But that aside, people complain about these movies. Yeah, they go out and watch them anyway, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense because when you think about it, if you just tired of these kind of movies, just don't look at them, just don't watch them. Just demand Disney to come up with some more creative content from the movies. And I'm bringing this up because they said they all plan to remake even more of these movies. They plan to do even more of these kinds of films in the near future. So, yeah, folks, just keep that in mind, alright? Just keep that in mind. Vote with your dollar. Make it known that this is the kind of stuff that you don't want, like, at all. Oh boy. Maybe just me complaining, I guess, in a lot of ways. Well, I made a lengthy video, so yeah, of course I'm gonna be complaining, obviously. But still, if this is not the stuff that you would want, let it be known. Let them know that this is the kind of stuff you do not want, like at all. You do, you do have a voice, so let it be known. But yeah, folks, I did not like what was done here at all. It was just done stupid. I like none of the characters, absolutely none of the characters were likable at all. And I kind of didn't mind I guess, the bird character, really. I mean, that one lady that then morph into like a bird or whatever. I guess that was kind of cool, I guess. I did kind of like that. But, again, there's not much to the character, really. There's not much at all to that character, really. It just felt like really, really one-dimensional. I don't know, she just served to be right there, just to have an opponent, really. She's nothing just to be a plot device, really. That's how it came out, just a walking, talking plot device, which is ridiculous. So as a result, a lot of these moments in this film just came off like it was contrived. Nothing felt genuine. It was very artificial in a lot of ways. So yeah, that really pissed me off. It treats like the viewer like they're stupid in that regard. I do not like plot contrivances. I do not like that at all. So yeah, folks, in that regard, it definitely is terrible in that way too. Oh boy. This came off like the story was rushed in a lot of ways, which is a complaint about it before. It doesn't do anything special. It really does not do anything special at all because the people behind this, it just came off, they didn't care that much. At the very least, they're just being incompetent, I guess. If I don't give them the benefit of the doubt, they're just being incompetent, I guess. Just being very, very incompetent, I suppose. I guess. But still, that does not excuse the big, giant mess that they made over here, folks. It doesn't excuse anything because it's garbage. This entire movie was just needless, considering the fact it could have easily made a third Mulan movie. Yeah, this film was definitely not something I would consider to be well made. No sorry. Yeah, I'm Rick. Come on, Killer Rodan. I'm Rick. You should like this movie, man. Ah, great. It's this moron again. Stop bothering me. Can you see how brilliant this movie is? How diverse? This guy's a jackass. I mean, really. It is, man. Come on. It's a great classic. It's an instant classic movie, man. Come on. Yeah. Hey, what's the money you owe me from prostituting yourself behind the Safeway? Come on. Why are you be so stubborn? It's a classic, man. You should realize how fantastic it is, man. Go away, you lowlife. You must learn the ways of this movie. You must realize how deep it is and very meaningful. Eh. God, how did Rick's mother put up with this when she was raising him? Ah, this is one of the best movies ever. I'm gonna watch it 50 times. Yeah. Newsflash, you are an idiot. So yeah, I'm gonna make you watch the movie 50 times too, man. You must learn. Just put some tape around your mouth, you know that? Yeah, so you can shut up. I need to finish this video. It's pretty long as it is. And I do get what this movie is trying to do, right, folks? This movie is trying to have an inspiring message for female empowerment, to stay strong, to stay true to yourself. That's great. To stay positive, no matter what the circumstances. Yeah, sure, life isn't easy. Yes, it gets pretty crazy, sure. But you must remain positive. You must remain courageous and all that. Be brave and all that stuff. But again, it didn't do it the right way. It should have been. If anything, it just makes me want to appreciate the original Mulan a lot more. If that makes any sense. So if anything, it made me want to like that one more. If anything. So yeah, folks, I have no issue with any movie wanting to have strong female lead and whatnot. That's perfectly fine. It just depends how it's written into the story. Is all I'm saying. So I mean, for crying out, I even played lots of fighting games over the years with female leads. So when you think about it, they could actually have. I was saying in one of the previous videos that they could have had different characters from 8 different Asian countries. And if you really want to have diversity, you could have that. And why can't they have maybe 2 women from 2 different Asian countries, maybe forming friendship, maybe, and maybe that could lead to something else, more than a friendship, if you catch my drift. And they had to overcome something that's dangerous, maybe fight off like an evil dragon or something, I don't know. Or maybe fight off an evil witch or something. I don't know, something with powers, I guess, or whatever. And they can be 2 princesses from 2 different countries of Asia or something. I don't know. I'm just doing my 2 cents in there, folks. And of course, maybe they can have their own set of fighting skills, of course, or whatever. So yeah, there's definitely plenty that they could have done, especially considering the fact that this has a really, really big budget. So, give me a break, will ya? So, yeah, when it comes to the whole idea of what I just said, diversity, you still did it wrong. You still did it wrong, really. But, yeah, which also boggles my mind is that, oh yeah, speaking of video game, like I was showing it throughout the entire video, yeah, Dragon Age shows diversity, and people accuse it for whitewashing. I keep bringing this game up. What the hell? Ah, man. So anyway, this was not a good movie. Far from a good movie. It did get some positive reviews. It did get some from positive feedback, which boggles my mind. What's so good about it? The story itself is heavily flawed. Nothing here is interesting, like at all. The overall premise is just it's basically the original movie all over again, but just padded out. If anything, you've just seen the original movie, you've seen this movie. This version of the film just comes off like a watered down version of what was already done. And of course, that's a really bad sign. We think about that's a really horrible, horrible sign right there. I mean, granted, I can say the same thing for all the other live action remakes that they've done over the years, sure. But this comes off like they haven't learned. They have not learned at all, really. They keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. They keep making the same mistakes repeatedly. But, yeah, just, no. No, 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 no. It's very wrong that they had to make in this movie in this kind of way. Well, what do I know, right? They haven't even made a good Supergirl movie yet. Someone get on that. I mean, seriously, she deserves to have her own good movie. I mean, she's a strong female character. So, like, come on. I mean, not just physically, but anyway, having an idea for a strong female lead in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. It just depends how it's written into the story, folks. There has to be more to the character's gender. There has to be more to the character than, beyond the surface level kind of stuff. And that's the problem, like I said before. One of the biggest problems I have this film is Mulan herself. She feels really one-dimensional. She feels like they were trying to have some sort of arc with this character, kind of, but ultimately falls flat because there's nothing really much of a character, really. Yeah, I get it, she's supposed to be courageous, yeah, she's supposed to be brave and all that, but beyond that, there's not much of her, really. There's not much to the character, like, at all. Which is very disappointing because I obviously like the original animated film. The original animated film was, yes, much shorter, but it showed more character development for Mulan than this movie ever could. Which doesn't make any sense because you think it would be the other way around because this one is much longer. Yeah, what the actual hell? Yeah, that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how long the movie is. If it's bad, it's bad, regardless. So yeah, folks, just because something is longer does not mean it's better or. So yeah, folks, I just no. Some people did try to defend this film by saying that just forget about the original and just focus on this. That's right. There's a stupid defense because again, it's a remake of the original. So how am I supposed to forget about the first one? It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, folks, this is just an overall badly made film that shouldn't have existed in the first place. So yeah, I know I'm making a really lengthy video about this because it's just bad, folks. It's just really, really bad, and I did not enjoy any of this. I wish this never existed. This movie was dead on arrival because, as mentioned earlier, I already knew that this was gonna be bad. I couldn't really tell right from the get-go. But hey, you can't blame me for giving this film a shot anyway. So there's that. I need a break, folks. I really, really need a break. Ah, shit. It's Mr. Monkey. How many times do I have to tell you? I'm not gonna buy you these god awful movies. Never ever. No. Yeah, there you go, you bastard. Anyway. In other words, they're just making this movie just because. Yeah, that's what comes off just because. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you can, folks. And yes, there were moments where they were actually really trying to copy the original film, like the whole avalanche thing. But in the live action film, in the rebooted Mulan, it doesn't feel nowhere near as epic, as huge as it should have been. You guys remember that in the original Mulan film, specifically the avalanche sequence, where she basically feels like, well, we're fucked. And she just wants to use this as a last desperate attempt to defeat the bad guys or whatever. Because in her mind, she's basically,
if I go down, I'm taking you with me.
was the kind of attitude, just trying to let everyone know, hey, if I can't have this victory, then nobody should at all. But they try to mimic that sequence in the live action version, but it feels hollow. It feels really, really hollow. It does not carry the same kind of tension that the original have. And the avalanche itself feels a lot smaller. It feels a lot smaller than how it was shown in the original animated film. Throughout the entire film, yes, they do make a lot of references to the original movie. And yeah, it's there. It just seems like it just comes off like nothing but fan service in that extent. Oh yeah, remember this? Yeah, we brought that in the movie too. The whole chicken bit, that's in the movie. Oh, come on now. So it just comes off really bluntly what they're trying to do. And oh yeah, remember the whole thing with the dressing up or whatever? That's there. Ooh la la, look at that. Come on, it just comes off really insulting. Come on, I could just watch the original instead of this. In that case. And oh yeah, remember this? It's just where that little bug thing there. Oh yeah, remember that? Yada yada yada. So yeah, folks, they keep going back and forth with lots of stuff with their own stuff, but then trying to mix it up with images of the original film. Just trying to mix it up with their own material, I guess, to some extent. But for their own material, if you just judge on that, just some generic fantasy type movie. I mean, really, that's all that was. But then they're trying to throw in bits and pieces of what the original one had. So it just kind of combined all this stuff into this kind of this movie, which was definitely not needed. None of the personalities of any of the characters were in this film. I know the characters were like a specific way in the animated feature. None of their personalities are in it, folks. Nothing of which. None of the personalities. The way they acted in the original film is non-existent in a rebooted Mulan. What's the entire point of trying to throw hints of the original film if nothing really is intact, really? It feels shallow in that regard. All you're doing is just, wink, wink, remember this, wink, wink, remember that. That's it. This comes off like you're just paying a little, a small, some sort of small tribute to it, I guess. That's it. But none of these images serve any real purposes. They try to, redo some sequences without the music. Like we're saying in the original, in the other video, all the music from the original film is non-existent in this movie. And they said it was done to make this film feel more realistic. What the hell? What the hell do you mean make it more realistic? How can you say you want to make it realistic, like hyper realistic, but you have this character that changes into a bird at any given notice at will? Okay, that's confusing, but alright. Conflicting in tone, isn't it? So yeah, another thing I find kind of stupid is that the bath scene is kind of there, sort of, kinda, but it's only briefly sort of there because they don't want any nudity to be in the film, even though it's technically implied nudity, but okay. But they don't want that to be in the film because, I don't know, because they think it's inappropriate for some reason, I guess. But we're talking about a film that's been produced by the same company that also made another classic Disney princess film, and of course I'm talking about Cinderella. In the original movie, we get to see her early on like this, and no one bats an eye. No one seemed to care, like at all. And then even in the god awful remake, even in this film, we get to see that there's a bit of cleavage being shown, and again, no one seems to bat an eye at like at all. Like no one cared. So why now is suddenly an issue with this kind of a thing? I don't get it. Why now is an issue? It just seems really bizarre in that regard. Because what? I'm scratching my head right now. I don't get it. I do not get any of this. So yeah, folks, a lot of the decisions on how they want to present the film is quite questionable in so many ways. And like I said before, folks, not that I was expecting much from this movie, really, because I really wasn't expecting a whole lot. Like I said before, I already knew it was gonna be bad. I already know it's gonna be garbage. But even then, even with low expectations, it still manages to disappoint me anyway, nonetheless. Which is why I'm making these lengthy videos explaining why I felt it was a total disaster, a really big disaster of a movie. So yeah, it was quite obvious that it's just done just to cash grab on your nostalgia. That's it. No rhyme, no reason. Just that. Just made just to make money to cash in on your nostalgia. Nothing else. Oh, come on, Mr. Monkey. How many times are you gonna be pestering me with this? I'm never ever gonna buy you these god awful movies. Ever, okay, man? You are really annoying. There you go, that's what you get, man. Nothing else. That's it. And nobody can convince me otherwise because they would have done a third Mulan film, or at the very least, do another Asian, Chinese, whatever. Yeah, some Asian character from some Asian place, and have another princess movie character from that area or something. Otherwise, but they didn't. I knew I shouldn't have watched this. I knew I shouldn't have, but I watched it anyway. Sure did.
Hey, Killer Rodan. Yeah, it's me, Rick, again, man.
Yeah, great. It's this guy again. Come on.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I have to tell you, this is an excellent movie. Okay, just because I like it.
Get a life. Yeah, really.
Yeah, that's right. You have to obey me. You have to like all the things I like. And just because I like it, it makes it a masterpiece.
The entire movie is shallow. So how can you find any good in this? I mean, really.
Don't make me come over there and do something to you. Alright? Ah, yeah.
Again, seriously, stop hanking into my life feeds.
Ah, you have to appreciate this movie for what it is. You know it's great.
This video is already long enough as it is. I need to finish this, you know. Anyway, moving on from that mess. As I mentioned before in one of my previous videos, when it comes to this big rant I'm doing, even the action sequences didn't come off all that great. It feels like there's no energy to the action sequence at all. There's no energy at all. So, yeah, that thing is that I felt like a lot of the action sequences were done much better, and a lot of the old, obscure kung fu features that I've watched before. Those, yeah, and those were what you consider the B kung fu movies, the B movies, I guess you can call them. Yeah, they're absurdly cheaply made, but it just came out like over there in those kung fu type features, they were done a lot better. When it comes into action sequences, anyway, but here no, it just feels like not really like, which sounds kind of weird because this movie, yeah, had a big budget. Yeah, this movie had a huge budget, so it's like, what the actual hell? And the action sequences just come off really bad. Yeah, how is it that this has a much bigger budget than any of the kung fu films ever viewed? Yet the yet it does look somewhat cheap, and the overall action sequences are rather stale. They're dull. This doesn't make any sense, like at all. So yeah, if anything, you can throw a bunch of money to a movie and still be bad. That just proves my point. I can't find anything else that's really redeemable about this movie because it's not that good of a film, like at all. So yeah, folks, this entire movie was unsufferable to sit through. It's really unbearable overall. And yeah, Disney shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have done this movie whatsoever because it's wrong in so many ways. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the dialogue. I didn't like the special effects all that much, really. Because, like I say, it does look fairly cheap, even though they had that big old budget. So, and I kind of didn't like the outfits all that much either, really. And I get what they were trying to do here. I mean, I see that. It's just that it fell apart quite easily. Of course, my biggest problem, as you can guess already, is the narrative of the story. The overall plot is really horrendous. There's plot holes all over the place, and I just didn't get it. So why is it that she herself, Mulan, the main character, how is it that she's the only one that has this chi? What is this chi energy? What is this chi power? Where did it come from? Is it like from a spiritual realm or something? I mean, it'd be like a pretty cool, interesting backstory if it did or something. What is this chi power? I mean, they're trying to give some sort of explanation to stuff, but a lot of time it does feel rather vague in a lot of ways. So how is it that you're gonna have a roughly 2 hour movie, but there's lots of questions, a lot of stuff come out vague and whatnot, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in that regard. You're a bunch of this company hires a bunch of professionals, so you would think at least the story would be much better. I mean, regards to special effects, maybe I could be a bit more forgiving in some regard if the story is much better than this. But no, you just come off like you just got lazy, like really lazy. Man, just this was a bad movie, folks. It really was. Yeah, I'm just gonna do 3 parts, folks. This is gonna be my third and final rant I've been doing with these videos. I'm not gonna do any more of this. This is gonna be the last one because it's just horrible. It's just uninspired, very lackluster in so many ways, considering the fact that the acting wasn't all that great either. This entire thing felt rushed, even with the acting. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that this had the worst acting in the universe or anything. This is far from that, but even the acting itself wasn't all that great, really. As I said in one of my previous videos, is that none of the music. I mean, yeah, literally none of the music from the the original film exists in this movie. It's not like how they did in the Beauty and the Beast remake. They brought some of the old songs and just did the old versions of the old songs while adding new music to it. This one doesn't even do that. This one has zero music from the original. So yeah, like I was saying, they were attempting to do more of a realistic approach, but it even does that wrong, as I said. But for the music that they do have for this movie, it's utterly forgettable. It's very generic, bland music that you're not gonna remember at all. Not that I care enough to remember anyway, so it's like whatever, I guess. Yeah, I didn't like it, folks, obviously. This was definitely an experience I never want to go through again. I like the music, I mean, I've seen bad movies with good music and good movies with bad music. But this is definitely one of those cases where it has both. A bad movie with bad music. So, I guess it matches, I guess. So, there's that. So, even in the music department, it was really horrible. Even on that. So, the person responsible for this music in this film did a horrible job. I know they were trying to aim for the type of music, like this type of music to make it seem more adventurous, to make it seem more exciting, and whatnot. Which is fine because that's what you're supposed to do anyway when it comes to making music. But they didn't even do that right. Not at all. Not really. So they failed in regard to trying to, pump me up, make me feel excited, hype me up, or whatever. But they didn't do that at all. If anything, it just adds to the boringness, if that's even a word, the boringness of the movie. So yeah. So if this wasn't a Mulan movie, it would have just been a generic film. But the fact that this is supposed to be a Mulan film only makes it worse. The Mulan reboot is a disgrace to the original film. The Mulan reboot is a disgrace to the fans of the original film. And the Mulan reboot is a disgrace to any viewers who actually watch it. Because the storytelling is just overly generic. There's nothing original. I mean, yes, they try to have their own elements within the film itself while combining elements of the original movie. But that's not how it should work. The entire film just came off like a mismatch of ideas from, like, they were trying to do their own original film, but then trying to combine ideas from the original film. So at the end of the day, this could have easily been a different movie entirely. Just remove all the bits that belong from the Mulan original film and just add your own story. I mean, they were kind of trying to do that anyway because we're trying to modern day, modernize this film for a brand new audience. Because they knew the original film, the people who watched the original film already grew up. So, yeah, stuff like this makes me think that maybe nobody's going to be putting enough effort to make good movies based on video games at all. I would love to see maybe an animated movie based upon the Rumble Roses games. That'd be really cool. But the fact that it was a bad movie makes me lose faith in that. I mean, okay, the Mulan was based upon a book. I realize that, but still, you can't come up with a coherent story for your own film. It just shows that you're not even trying all that hard, like at all. You'd be able to write a great story about female empowerment regardless of genre. It can be kung fu, it can be fantasy, it can be a princess movie, it can be a wrestling movie, it can be whatever. It doesn't matter the genre, you can still write a great female role regardless of genre. It all depends on the writing, the way you su- succeed in developing the story, the characters, so on and so forth, the themes, the setting. Making a movie, you're supposed to do a lot of research. You're supposed to spend a lot of time thinking about the characters. Treat the characters as if they're actual people. Sure, this is a made-up world that you're creating. It's all make-believe, yeah. But treat the characters as if they're actual human beings. What are their likes? What about their dislikes? Do they have a favorite food? Favorite color? Well, their hobbies? Well, their interests? So on and so forth. This kinds of stuff you can actually think about. Treat these characters as if you knew them. Maybe think about some friends, or maybe think about some family members, or whatever. Maybe think about people all around you. You can always pick up some character traits from certain people. You can always apply that to the character, of course. Of course, I'm not saying it has to be based upon on a specific person per se, of course, but certain actions or certain events can be used for the story. Of course, adapting a book, a video game, what have you, should be something easy to make into a film because you're adapting the concept, the idea into film. And no, Mulan was based on a legend and whatnot. So okay, you're adapting the idea into film. So this should be said. Same thing for video games, comic books, so on and so forth. This kind of thing can actually work if done right. And I do believe we do need to see more female characters in big budget films. But of course, you need to treat these characters. It just comes off like it's a shame, folks. Regardless if it's what the source material is, you should treat this with care. Make these characters come off multi-dimensional. Make sure there's more to the character, more than their gender, more than their sexual orientation, more than their general identity. There has to be more to the character than that stuff. There needs to be more to the character than their ethnic background. It's fine to have diversity. That in itself isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm fine with having multiple characters from multiple different countries and whatnot, but there needs to be more to the characters than these things. Treat these characters like they're actual people. And that's the thing with Mulan. I couldn't connect to the character in any shape or form like I did with the original movie. If anything, the live action reboot just comes off as a pale imitation of the original movie. There was nothing clever, there was nothing deep, there was nothing at all that was deemed worthy. This film was roughly an hour and 15 minutes. That's something I never can get back at all. This was just poorly done. It definitely was not needed to be made at all. This film was just made just because to make money And that's why they made the sequel Mulan 2, which I must add wasn't very good. But I much rather see Mulan 2. Yes, you heard me right. I must rather watch Mulan 2 over this trash. Yep. And others, yeah, it's just not very good, folks. At least Mulan 2 tries to have a different story. I mean, yeah, Mulan 2 wasn't exactly good either. It really wasn't. But again, at the very least, it did attempt, sort of, kinda, to continue the story. Even though pretty much having her be like a babysitter was kind of stupid in a lot of ways. But anyway, yeah, this film at least attempted to have some sort of its own story going along with the overall theme or whatever. But that's the thing. This one just basically just rehashes what was already done previously, and then it kind of tries to have its own spin on some things, I guess. But no, it doesn't work. It does not work at all because the writing is awful. The dialogue isn't very good at all. The villain type characters, the villain type characters just come off one dimensional, just like Mulan. There's no real poetry behind this at all. There's no real meaning behind anything whatsoever. So yes, of course, there's so much wrong with this, folks. So much wrong. And I believe I could cover as much as I could, folks. This video alone is over 50 minutes, so, and this is the third part of the video series for Mulan, so this will be the last part of the review, folks. I think I've said quite enough as it is. This movie is terrible. It's really bad. I mean, it's so bad I had to do 3 separate videos just to do a rant. This movie sucks. It really blows, folks. Oh boy. So yeah, folks, I'm never gonna watch this again. Once was good enough. Even then. Anyway, folks, I'll give this film an overall rating of a 4.7 out of 10. It gets a 4.7 out of 10 from me. As always, thanks for watching and take care. Until next time, see ya. Oh yeah.